This is part two of strategic investments needed for Africa. This part will deal with developing utility infrastructure. So we need to develop various utility infrastructures for the country. The three that are strategic will be electric power, water, internet, and telecommunications network. These are gifts that keep on giving. They are strategic because they will lead to other investments and they will spur economic growth. More economic activity within the country will spur economic growth. As it relates to electric power, we need a country needs to consider its full electricity needs, not just for the capital city. Consider the country as a whole, its need, and future projections as well, and then develop excess capacity as well, so as to be able to, if needed, sell to neighboring countries. Europe does something like this. I think some countries sell to other countries when they're when they have downtime. So Europe does things like this. We need to establish a smart power grid. And when we creating electricity companies, we need to mix and match power sources. So we can use fossil fuels, some renewable energy, hydroelectric, geothermal, waste to energy types. Waste to energy is one of my favorite ones because you're going to have waste. You can use that to power your country, power your electricity grid. And nuclear, that's an option too that I think we should consider. We need to develop water production facilities and sewage as well, so that the sewage will help us with waste to energy plants. We need to develop internet and telecommunication network, a high speed backbone network created by the government that businesses can use to sell retail services to the public. One of the things the U.S. did when during the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf time in Liberia was they had a company conduct a study to find out the constraints to economic growth in Liberia. The two constraints that the company found was that there were lack of world class highway networks and utility infrastructure, so electric, water, internet, and telecommunications. Of course, the U.S. ignored those. That study they commission and focus on quote unquote good governance and and corruption. Of course, not their corruption, Just as correction for small folks. We need to consider those utility infrastructures. Consider that a company wants to come into your country. They don't want to have to go and develop the means for electricity, for water, for internet and telecommunications before they can operate their business. So having those things available makes it easy for them. Of course, the government should establish autonomous state-owned enterprises. I say this, let's go in considering the light of Singapore. When Lee Kuan Yew wanted to create the Singapore Airlines, the one that took managers from different state enterprises that were good, put them together and said, you guys were going to get the training, I'm going to give you seed money and reserves. You guys will create this airline and you guys will operate it as a business. You must be solvent. You're not getting any more money from the state. So you will sink or swim. And Singapore Airlines swam. Today they are one of the number one airlines, even not just from comfort but safety as well. Heck, the whole of Singapore as a country is pushing above its weight. They are number one in almost everything. Right? So the government responsibility for these utility corporations should be to provide seed money. They should provide initial training. Of course, help maintain capacity building. And sometimes when those corporations can afford it, get to the point where they can afford it, they should pay for the ongoing training. But the government should ensure certain standards are met. Government should provide oversight. Now, government must mandate that all businesses operating within the country must utilize the services from the utility corporations. But to that end, government must also enforce a service level agreements on these utility corporations so that when they fail those businesses, they fail to deliver quality services, quality and timely services, they should pay those corporations for their loss, for their economic loss. That will put some pressure on them to maintain good operations. The government should make it clear that these state-owned enterprises must be solvent and must not be dependent on government aid, additional government aid. It must be set in stone. No. One of the problems we face in Africa is that the government themselves steal from the utility corporations. They steal the services. With all the buildings that they have, they do not pay for electricity, water, telecommunications, internet. So now they're using services that put a strain on the corporations, and the corporations can get money for them. So those corporations are not solvent. They can't maintain their infrastructure. Then you go look to the big business. The big business look at it. The infrastructure is poor. The services provided is not timely. So they decide they're going to get generators. So now they're off the grid. So it's left with the citizens. The rich folks might pay for it, but if it's shoddy service, they too get generators. That leaves the people in the middle and lower class. Those people got to choose between taking care of the family, food and stuff, and paying electricity bill. Some of them will do without, Some of them will decide to steal the services because they don't even have money in the first place. So the government must pay for the services they use. So the corporations must operate as a business. They must charge market rates to corporations, to other corporations, private businesses. They must charge the government market rates. No, no discounts. The government must be charged market rates. The government can pay on a bi-monthly basis, like they do in the U.S. here. U.S. government pay every 2 months. When they have contract with you, they pay every 2 months. The companies must pay for their own services. Their buildings using the services must pay as well. It's not for them. It's for the corporation, the company, the country as a whole. So they must pay for services at all as well. And since they are an autonomous company, they must pay the applicable taxes. They must pay the licensure fees to national and local governments as well, so that those people are solvent. Those are the type of investments that we need in Africa. These are ones that the Chinese can help us with, or Eurasia as a whole can help us with. Right? We need investments like these that can lead to other investments. So again, strategic. These must be strategic investments that can help generate internal economic activities, which will then spur economic growth. Right? If you have a great spending spanning the whole of the country, you need people to maintain those substations. You need people to maintain the different infrastructures for electricity, for water, sewage. You need people to maintain that. You're going to have to hire people to maintain that all across the country. That means not just the capital. Someone can be in a far up north or far down south, east or west, in a state far from the capital, and if they are an electrician or wireman, they can live right in their own state and still be able to work. Again, that's providing additional economic activities. These are strategic investments that we must consider. The next part will be part 3, and it will deal with farming, fisheries, and food. For now, this is it with part 2, which was developing utility infrastructures. Please like, subscribe, and hit the bell so that you can be notified when I drop new videos. Thank you.